Hi everybody, this is Maureen Wong for YNS. Today I have a start to finish video for you making this vellum shaker card. You can see it actually does shake, and it has little conversation hearts inside, and each one of them actually says something different. And there's some sequins, and then this sentiment on the front, will you be my Valentine? So let's get started. Okay, to start with, I've gotten out my Love Struck stamp set and the matching dies from YNS, and I also dug through my scrap cardstock drawer, and I picked out a bunch of different colors in sort of the pastels that I want to use to make my conversation hearts for my vellum shaker card. So what I'm gonna do first is I already took out my heart stamp. And then there are all these little sayings: be mine, kiss me, crazy for you, hug me, sugar lips, love you. And what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna take them, and I'm also gonna use my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm gonna be stamping 2 hearts per color. I think that'll be enough. And so I like to do it the word first, and don't press down too hard, otherwise it's going to smash it and it's not going to be really legible. So you want to just kind of touch it lightly. And then with this, you take the heart after you stamp the words and stamp that, and it's really easy to line up. Let me zoom in just a little bit, and you can see. And let me do that again. I'm going to take a different sentiment, or a different saying, I guess these are. No, I don't want to use that one. Let's use the smile. So again, you just stamp the word nice and softly, and then you're going to get your heart and just line it up. See how well that lines up? And you can totally see it through the stamp, and then there is your perfect little conversation heart. So I'm gonna do all the colors, like I said, 2 of each of all the colors that I picked out, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. As you can see, I finished stamping all the different hearts, and I also took the matching die, this little heart die, and I ran all of those through my die cutting machine to have them cut out. And I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to take out something else now. This is going to be the shaker part of my card. It's a piece of white cardstock that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, and a piece of vellum that is the same size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit them together, and I'm going to put a piece of tape on here to hold them together. And what I'm going to be using is the YNS Stitching Holes dies, and let me show you how I'm going to cut this to make a frame around my whole panel for stitching. Okay, you can see this is the largest one here. This is the next largest one, and then this is the 3rd largest one, and we're using the 2nd largest one and the 3rd largest one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this cutting side down, and I'm gonna put it close to the edge of my, not super close because I don't want any of those holes popping out, but kind of close to the edge. And then I'm gonna take some more tape and tape that down and run it through my die cutting machine. Okay, so you can see when I remove the tape, let me get this off carefully, I don't want to rip that vellum. It's cut a line of holes that I can use for stitching. Then I'm going to take the second longest one and I am going to kind of line it up with that hole in the corner, this one right here that I'm pointing at. And I'm going to kind of line it up and center it so that I can have another line of holes here. And so I'm going to tape that down. And actually what you can do, instead of doing it in order going around, you can do the two small sides first with this same die, the third largest die. And then it'll help you to center that second longest die in between them. But since I put my tape on this short side, I'm just going to cut the two long sides for now. And actually that looks just a tiny bit crooked, so let me adjust that. And I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. Okay. My lining up of the dies didn't come out perfect, as you can see. What you can do if you want it to be really spot on perfect is you can draw light pencil lines and then align your dies over the pencil lines to cut those out. And then you'll get a much straighter, more even frame. But I'm not really too worried about that. It's still going to look great once I sew it all up. And remember, the holes really want to stick in this die. So you're going to need to take something like, this is a straight pin, and pop out all those little holes that you just cut before you run it through again. If you run it through again and the holes get caught, the more times you run it through without taking the holes, the more stuck that those little holes get, and it can really jam up inside of your die. So I would recommend cleaning it out every time you cut with it. Okay, so now this is clean. And once again, I'm going to try and line that up with that edge, that corner hole, and I'm going to put down my tape. And run that through my die cutting machine again. Okay, now I'm removing the tape off my third side. And you can see that one actually lined up a little bit better than the other side. Like I said, if you really want it to line up perfectly, go ahead and draw a frame around it, and then you can line it up that way. And then since we need to cut this side, I'm going to take off the tape that I was using to hold the two pieces together. Sorry about it cutting off like that. My memory card just ran out of space, so I cleared it out. And basically all I did was take the painter's tape that was sticking the two pieces together and moved it from this side to this side. And I'm trying really hard to keep my holes lined up. I don't know why, for some reason they don't want to stay lined up, so I'm going to take another piece of tape for this side, and that should hold it. Now again, I'm taking that third largest die and kind of lining it up with the holes that are there. And like I said, it's not going to be perfect, but I don't mind. There we go. And now I'm going to go run to my die cutting machine and cut this out. Okay, so here is my finished piece. Let me just take off all this tape. And you can see by using the Stitching Holes dies, I have a nice set of holes that I can use to stitch these two pieces together to make my little shaker card. Let me move this all out of the way. And you have to be careful, even though this is kind of used and not super sticky, when you run it through the die cutting machine, it can really stick down to your surfaces, so you need to be careful when you're pulling them apart. Now let me just line this up and make sure that was the way I cut them. Yes, it is. And now I'm going to take this is just some hemp cord, and I'm going to take a length of it, and I'm going to need a big needle for this. So what I have are the size 22 tapestry needles, and in case you're not familiar with it, a tapestry needle, it's not super sharp on the bottom. It's got more of a rounded tip, so it's not going to pierce holes in your paper, and it's also got a pretty big eye, so I can slip this in easily. And then what I'm going to do is just going to come up through one of these holes, and then I'm going to pull it through almost all the way, and then I'm just going to take a piece of tape and secure that end. Oh, this is too big. And secure that end away from the holes. And then what I'm going to do is, this is just a basic back stitch. I'm going to come up, let me zoom in. So I came up through this second hole, and I'm going to go back down through the first hole and pull that all the way through. Then I'm going to come up through this third hole and pull that all the way through. And then I'm going to go down the second hole and pull that all the way through. And you just keep going like that. You go in a new hole, come up, then you go back down the hole before it and pull through. And each time you pull through, you want to make sure you're pulling this tight so that the whole thing will hold together, because we don't want it falling apart and having all of our inside shaker materials coming out. So I'm just going to keep doing this, and I'm going to go almost all the way around. Actually, you know what? I forgot a step, and so let me go ahead and do that right now. I forgot that I was going to emboss my sentiment on this. So let me take my powder tool and treat my vellum. And then I'm getting one of the sentiments from the Love Struck set, the one that says, "Will you be my Valentine?" And I'm going to get out my Versamark ink and ink that up. And I'm going to try stamping it kind of somewhere near the middle. And then I'm going to get my white Hero Arts embossing powder, and I have to stick this whole thing in because I forgot a step. I could go back and take out those few stitches that I did already, but there's no need. I can just go right over this and it'll be fine. Yeah, that's fine. And if you're not familiar with embossing on vellum, one thing you want to do is just run your heat tool for a while before you put it to the vellum. Vellum will warp easily with too much heat. So I would keep it off the vellum and just let it heat up until it's really, really nice and hot. And then once you think it's hot enough, you can put it to the vellum and it should melt really quickly. You see it's melting already. Okay. crisis averted, that worked out just fine. Okay, so like I said before, I'm just going to keep stitching all the way around, well, almost all the way around, because I'm going to leave a little hole for us to come back in and put in our shaker items. So let me finish this and I'll be right back. Okay, I stitched all the way around and my thread just happened to come to an end right at the corner, so I just left this whole portion open. Now what I'm going to do is carefully put in my little conversation hearts, and I'm going to make sure they're all facing up so you can still read them through the vellum, and try and get them in there. Make sure they don't flip over. Just like that. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put in some of these small white sequins. I just got these from the local craft store. I'm not sure what brand they are. I think they might be Derice or something like that. I'm not going to put too many. And then I'm going to put in the rest of my conversation hearts. Okay, and that's my filling. And even though it's it's going to be all sewn up, I wouldn't put glitter because the space between the holes are not really big, but big enough for glitter to get through. So if you put glitter in here, that actually might start falling out through the holes. So I'm not going to put any glitter, just these sequins. And the sequins that I'm using are small, but they are bigger than the openings to slide out. And the conversation hearts are definitely bigger than the openings, so they can't slide out. Now I'm just going to take some more of my hemp cord. Wow, I threaded so easily the first time. Okay, there we go. Not quite. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to take that and do it the same way I did before. I'm coming up that second hole, and be careful not to let anything fall out. Let me get another piece of tape here for the back of the card. Pull that through, and I'm going to stick that down. And up through the second, go down through the one before it, then go up a new hole, come down in the one before it, and I am pulling my thread taut each time I pull it through so that it holds together really well. And I will finish this side up and be right back. Okay, so I'm just finishing off the last couple of stitches here. There we go. And then I'm going to bring this to the back and tape down that end and cut off my excess. And there is our shaker portion of our card. Now what I'm going to do is just mount this on a card base, an A2 size card base, and I have to go get that. I'll be right back. Okay, and I'm just using white, but of course you could use any one of the colors in the conversation hearts or any other color you'd like, but I'm just going with white. And because this hemp cord, you can see how much height it has, I'm gonna use my red liner tape, because that is extra sticky, to hopefully make sure that this all stays in place, and I'm putting it right over that cord. This is a 1/2 inch roll, but I actually got my craft knife and just went right down the middle of it to cut it down to 2 pieces of 1/4 inch tape, because I don't tend to use the 1/2 inch size, but I bought a whole bunch of the 1/2 inch size by mistake. So you make do with what you have. And make sure that's stuck down really well. And my final side. Okay, that should be good, but actually I'm just gonna put a little bit in the middle too. Right there, just to make sure that kind of holds in place. Now what I'm gonna do is take off that middle piece, and I'm not taking off my edges yet because I want to position this, and that red liner tape is really sticky. So I want to make sure this is in position, and then I'm going to go ahead and press down the middle, and then I can gently lift up these edges and get off the red liner of this tape. And just pull it right out and stick those edges down. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting up the liners. There we go. And one more on this side. There we go. And now that's all stuck down, and here we have our little Valentine shaker card. It's not going to be a full-on shaker like if you actually use foam tape or craft foam or something like that, something thick, to make a channel for the things to shake around in. But it does shake a little bit, and I think it's really cute. So I hope you like my video today, and I'll see you at yournextstamp.com. Have a great day.